tape, and we're going to talk about
We'll
Stalingrad.
continue with Stalingrad.
Okay.
I can only emphasize that Stalingrad at that time was a living hell. You didn't know where to run or where to go, but you wanted to survive. Finally, one night, there was quite a few of us. We decided we're going to try to cross the Volga to go on the other side of Stalingrad. We took a boat. Most of the boat was sunk by the Germans. One out of 10 made it. We took one at night and we went in, and luckily we made it across the Volga.
Yours was the 1 out of 10?
Yes, so we were at that time at the other side of the Volga already. We still seen a lot, but the danger was less because the Volga separated me from the Germans. In the morning, we start walking, and we went in, and they called it Kamat. This is where they draft soldiers. And we told them that we got lost, and we came to report to them that we are alive. We waited for quite a while. We were there for a while, for about 2 to 3 weeks. Finally, they came, somebody from high ranking, and they said they needed people somewhere. We didn't know where. Since we already were so much down, and so he took us and we went by train. We went all the way to Gorkovska Oblast at a city named Gorod Murom. Gorod means a city in Russian. There they took us in woods. I presume in them woods there was never any human being walking before us. And we had to dig our own houses. It was half in the ground and half we made it out of wood. I remember vividly one time we went and there was quite a few of us. And the wolves attacked us and we had to kill 6 of them, the rest ran away. It was a very dangerous place at that time. But we were happy to be there instead in Stalingrad. That was already 1944. The war already was going a lot better for the Russians than they did before. I also want to emphasize that all the time, none of the family of mine knew that I am alive, and I did not know where they are or they are alive, because when I left them in Odessa Oblast was taken in a short time by the Germans. However, the Germans started retreating. In there I found a good friend of mine. He was from Kharkov, and he was a Jewish person. He was very educated, and I became very friendly with him. And he told me his life, he had a problem with his parents, wife, someone got killed. And I told him that I am the only person, as far as I know, from my family. So he suggested to me that I write a letter to a city named Bugoroslan. Maybe there, all the evidence from everybody is in that city concentrated. And from there, I might find out where, if somebody is alive. I wrote a letter, he gave me the address, and I wrote a letter.
Okay, keep going.
So I wrote a letter to Buguruslan, and after a while, there came an answer. But that by the end of 1942, my parents were in Stalingradsky Oblast,
Not far from where you had been.
not far from where I have been. And after writing to them quite a few letters to authorities at this place, they told me that they were evacuated from that place with an address unknown. So I knew that they came that far, but apparently they had to evacuate themselves, so there was a danger. And since the address was unknown, that was the end of the street. I could not go any farther. I was a little bit relieved that at least they left this place in Odessa Oblast where I left them, and that they came that far. And if they've been evacuated, it means there is a good possibility that they are alive. However, I have to go on with my life for survival. And I continued there. After a while, it became easier and easier because the war became more and more in favor of the Soviet Union at that time. So I didn't suffer that much. In May 8, 1945, the war ended. And I still turned to my friend from Kharkov, the Jewish man, and he was a big shot at that time already in the army. And I asked him for advice. What can I do? He told me that as far as he knows, there is an agreement between a Polish general named Sikorsky and the Soviet Union that all the Polish citizens should return to Poland, because at that time Poland was already occupied by Russia. And since it turned to be a communist in Poland, they weren't afraid to send back the Polish citizens.
During the war, did you see any signs of when the Germans were retreating of things they had done?
Yes, I have not been in charge, but I have guarded some POWs Germans.
Mm-hmm.
They were brought in, and I was guarding them. Not me, but the whole platoon. After that, I went in and I told them that I am a Polish citizen and I would like to return to Poland. And they told me that they don't believe me that I am a Polish citizen. I was speaking perfect Russian, but I told them where I was born. I told them I speak Polish. I remember like today they said quite a few million of Russians speak Polish. And they did not believe me and they dismissed me. I again turned to my friend for help. He advised me to write to the place where I was born, because I was drafted in Odessa Oblast. Maybe there's some documents left there.
What was the name of that town again?
The town was Domanyovka
Domanyovka.
in Odessa Oblast. Maybe there is some documents in Domanyovka, Odessa Oblast. Domanyovka is near a big city that's called Pervomaisk.
Mm-hmm.
So I had nothing to lose. It was already after the war, but they did not discharge me. They kept me. So I wrote to that city, again to the Vojenkomat. This is where the draft board is. begging them to look over, maybe there is some documents that will say that I came from Poland in 1939. That letter came in to a friend of mine. He was the man that distributed the mail in this town. And he knew me very well, and I knew him. When he got this letter and he seen my name, my parents already wrote to him and asked him maybe he knows something about me. So he sent me a telegram.
Did you know that Ella was dead?
Huh?
Did you know that your brother
I
Ella
did
was
not know. I did not know that I lost a brother in that war, at that time.
Uh-huh. Did your parents know that Ella was dead?
So he sent a telegram to me, and he sent a telegram to my parents because he had their address, because they sent to him, not to waste any time. When I got his telegram, I looked it over, and I knew it was him, and I knew the man. So I wrote a letter right away to the address where my parents were supposed to be. I had an answer from them saying that they lost one son that they know, and somebody wrote to them a letter stating that he knows where their son is and he wants to come and talk to them. If this is the same thing, they would appreciate if I don't write to them. Because if this is the same thing. The letter was written in Russian for me. So I wrote him back a letter, and when I was going to Haida, I used to like to make an aleph, a base, in print. So I wrote my name, Shloime Kranc, in print, and they knew that I liked that. And I told them, if you don't believe me, those would certify that this is me. When they got this letter, they sent me another letter, that now they believe me. So I wrote him a letter, and I said, I want a letter from each of my 3 brothers separately at that time. The little one was a baby. His name was Yankel Kranc. However, the 3 were in danger because their age was drafted.
I don't understand why all this suspicion over the letters. If you're not really Shlomo, then stop bothering us.
Because,
I want letters from each 3
because
of
they
you.
already had an experience that somebody wrote that he knows where their son is, and if they want to know, he'll come and visit them with my brother. But they didn't write me that. They just told me if they don't believe it, if this is somebody that just knew me, to verify or to do something. After that, they did don't. After that, we were in communication, and they wrote me letters, but one of my brothers was killed in the war. He was killed near Warsaw. There was a woman named Wanda Wasilewski, and she was a communist, and she organized 3 divisions in Russia, Polish citizens, that they can take Warsaw when it came close. And that's where a lot of people died, and my brother was killed at that place near Warsaw when they were going to take Warsaw. So I found all this out. I celebrate the victory of the war the 8th of May in Gorkovsky Oblast in Stancija Novashino. Stancija means a train station. It was very, very good. The feeling was good, but we already know that this is coming because we knew how the war progressed. And I start asking for permission to go to visit them. It took me a long time, but in December 1945, I was given 1 month to go visit them. I went to visit them. This was the first time that they seen me since July 22nd, 1941, and I have seen them I didn't see them just as long. I remember my little brother, which I left and he was a baby, told me that he waited for me 4.5 years. It was very emotional, and it was a good feeling.
You didn't tell me about your uncle's bris. We have to skip back a little bit, but you didn't tell me about that.
I'll go back to that my baby brother, which I just mentioned, that he said he waited for me. He waited for me 4.5 years. When he was born,
Hi, Jason. Thank you. I'm all tied up. I'm holding the baby, and my father is recording his war memories, so this is not the best time to call. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah.
his baby brother was born in April 1941, which was just about 3 months before they drafted me, 3 or 4 months. When he was born, my mother insisted that there has to be a bris, but it was against the law, punishable by Hash.
Punishment. Why was it against the law?
A religion was against the law in the Soviet Union.
So there was no anti-Semitism. You just couldn't do anything.
No, the religion was forbidden not only to Jews, but in general, religion was forbidden. So my mother said she has to have a bris. I was at that time in position to do something. I had a friend, which he was the same man that took us out of this, brought us to this little town. The name was Verbitsky. He came from Odessa and he told me, you go to Odessa, I will give you an address, you go there and see that man. That man is not the man, the more that can make a bris. But if he will see that you're worthy, he would take you to a person that does that, because it's very dangerous. I went there and I found that address and I told that person the whole story. He looked at me, he asked me a few questions, and he said, all right, sit here for a little while and I will let you know. It didn't take too long. Another man came in with a beard. You could see he's a very religious person. He came over and he said he'll be willing to go with me. I had a truck at that time in my disposition that I can take him. I will be willing to go with you to Malazan, your brother. But he said, nobody has to know that. We came over, he wanted to come in this town at night.
He's endangering his life.
He was endangering his life. So we came at night. He spent 8 days with my brother and my family. And he never went outside except late at night for a little bit of fresh air. The rest of it, he was sitting in the cellar because it was very dangerous. I'll never forget that man. When I took him back, he wished me well, and he said, I hope that your brother will grow up to be a good Jew because of what you did. My brother really did grow up to be a good Jew. He grew up to be a Lubavitcher rabbi. Now I'm going to go back to my story when I went to them to see them. It took me 2 days and 2 nights. I had to go through Moscow in order to come to them. And they were a place called Stavropolsky Krai, which is far away where I was. When I came there, I've seen the family, we talked. However, my parents and my family had to be going back to Poland because they were Polish citizens at that time. It was already, I stayed there over January and it was already 1946. But I had to go back to my unit. So I was there for a month and I went back to my unit and they wrote me where and when they going back to Poland. Unfortunately, the places that we thought we were going to meet was not available for Jews in Poland at that time. All the Jewish population that was Polish citizens and returned to Poland came to a place named Niederschlesien. That was a place that the Poles took over from Germany, or the Russians gave it to the Poles. There we met, and from there on, we were in the P camps.
Well, did you go back to Zamość?
In 1946, I went with my father back to Zamość to see what is going on, and also we had a house which my father wanted to sell. When we came into Zamość, I have seen some friends of mine, Polish friends. They used to be friends, and they were not very friendly anymore. There was one place where all the Jews that came to Zamość stayed in one place. It was a Jewish big house. And from there they conducted whatever they want to sell, or that was it. We sold it. We got very little for it because you didn't have a choice. And we went back to Dolny Śląsk. And then we went to Austria. We spent 1 year in Austria in a city called Hallein. It's near Salzburg, in the P camp. In the P camp,
But before we leave the whole period of the war, how come you survived?
how come I survived is a little bit of muscle, a little bit of luck. Very, very few survived. Many, many, many died. Apparently, there was a reason for my survival too. Today I can see it why I survived. I have today a mother, she's 95 years old. And I have to be in charge of her life and take care of her. And now, I think this was the reason for me to survive.
To take care of your mother?
Right. Because without me, she would not be here anymore. She's not in an old age home. She lives by herself, and I take care of her. After being 1 year in Austria, we went to Germany. From Germany, we've been there for 3 years, 3.5 years. We emigrated to the United States. We had family. and they made papers, and we came to the United States. I lived in New York, then I moved to Connecticut, and that's where I live up till today.
Tell me about life in the DP camp.
Life in the
What did all the Jews do there?
DP camps, there was really not much to do there. You could learn some trade, it was available. You could, mostly people were waiting of immigration. This was the DP camp. It wasn't something to stay there. It was like a transition camp. Some of them emigrated to Italy, some to France, some to Canada a lot, and some to the United States. This was not a place of sitting. We lived in 3-4 families in a 4-bedroom place. This mostly was barracks from the German armies. It wasn't private houses. This was the DP camps. Any more question that you can think of?
Anything else you want to...
As I mentioned before, I consider myself to be a very, very lucky person. I have a nice family. I have 3 children, 2 daughters and 1 son. And as I said in the beginning, I'm right now at my son's house in Jerusalem with 4 beautiful children. So I am a very, very happy person. I got married in New York City 42 years ago. Thank God my wife is all right, I'm okay, and my family is all right.
Okay.
The end of all?
That's the end.
No matter how I hold it down, you see what's happening? No matter what I think.